Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I am not sure uh, why, if this is working or it isn't working on YouTube and Twitter. Um, like I say, it gets stranger by the minute. Um, but give me a 5 if you can see and hear me. Don't know if it's working on YouTube and Twitter. Uh, Steve Lomas is out there. Taffy Pat's out there. Jason, I ain't heard from you for a little while. Ray Edmonds, Jules Ann, 67. Hello, Julie. How you doing, darling? How's your little mini? Taffy Pat, let's have a look. Looks like YouTube's up and running again. I ain't got a clue what's going on. But it is important. It is coming up to a few minutes at 2:08. So I'm going to start this because I think it's really important that we say this. Listen, I, myself, Colin, Brett, Joe, who stood in St Helens, one of the worst areas for cheating. And again, I'm going to speak about that tonight as well in St Helens. Really important because it's part of the Red Wall, right? The Red Wall is a fraud, but we're not going to talk about all of that yet. I need to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying, right? I've seen a number of interviews with Rebecca Shepherd, and I just want to say this to her, right? The hardest thing in the world is to stand in an election and just do it, right? Most people run a mile from it. You've got to have a different type of character to go out and say, listen, I'm going to do it, right? And I want everyone to understand what the job, what the role is of a member of parliament, right? So the job of the job description is to represent your constituents, to air their grievances in parliament, to the Crown in Parliament, meaning the executive, right? In other words, ministers, to the Prime Minister as well, and also to the Crown, to the King. That's it. That's your job. You are a commoner elected to the House of Commons to voice the concerns, the problems, the issues of your constituents, not your political party, not the leader of the political party, not anyone else, not someone else who lives in another constituency, not someone else who lives in another jurisdiction, right? But your own constituents. Your job is to air their grievances. So when you get these questions, what would you do about this and what would you do about that? And they then start asking you jobs on the economy. Let me tell you something. Rachel from accounts is the person you ask questions of on the economy. She should never have got into that role. And the way Parliament used to be, she would never have got into that role, right? If I told you the history of how you could choose a minister and the fact that they had to resign, if they was an MP, they had to resign, and you can choose someone who is not a member of Parliament to be in the executive, right? So I just want everyone to understand, this is my opinion on, from watching her, Rebecca Shepherd. She's just like me and you, right? And all she's got to do is get in that Parliament, and there's two people, right, that she should be taking advice from, right? That's Rupert Lowe, the only other person I've seen actually call the judiciary and the legal profession parasites, right? Which is what they are. And he's airing the opinions of his constituents. He's the only person that's properly brought up the rape and torture gangs. He's the only person that's got up there, and you'll note that Parliament tried to say, can please take down your language. Your language is terrible. We don't use that language in Parliament. Oh, yes, you do. You use the language of your constituents, right? Apart from F's and C's or anything like that, it's obvious. If anyone's ever seen me being interviewed, I don't swear, right? I swear on my own channel. It's my channel, right? But I do try not to, unless I really, really am feeling frustrated at something. But I just want everyone to understand how much respect I have got for Becky actually standing up and doing it. I'm like, God, get in there, right? And I just think that it is a great, great shame that people have been out there attacking her. I've seen her being attacked on Twitter, etc. She should have a good support network around her, right? And I know that she has. My main thing is this, right? Forget all these nonsense questions. The best thing you can say on an interview is my job as an MP is to air the grievances of my constituents in Parliament, and that's exactly what I intend to do. My job is not to get involved with separate jurisdictions or separate nations, any nation. My job is to represent my own constituents, right? That's it. And I will air their grievances. That's all you got to say. So getting on from that, the other person that Rebecca should be looking at is Andrew Bridgen, right? Because he stood up in Parliament and he said, "There's these vaccine harms. You're harming children. You're harming babies, right?" Rupert Lowe has said the same thing. So I just want everyone to understand this is about airing the grievances of the people. That's what Parliament is for. Not to fanny around in the background with he said this, she said this. No one's interested in that. What we're interested in is what your constituents think, and for you to voice that in that Parliament. That is the job of an MP, right? So if anyone asks you any stupid questions, just say that. I want to get back to a couple of things, especially about Rupert Lowe. Hopefully everyone's watching this, and I am actually going to bring this up on screen because I think everyone should see this. Let's this one say there. There's a few things I'm going to go into. I'm seeing some messages come through. I think there's too many people on the attack here. Listen, go and start your own party if you don't like it. It's as simple as that. Unless you've got someone who's got millions. Listen, Rupert Lowe's got a few quid. And I'm not a jealous person. I want him to have money. I want everyone to have money. Go and earn a pound note, right? I love it. I love business. I love people who want to graft, right? I'm going to list the things that I think are really important about Rupert Lowe and in effect the position of Restore Britain, right? I'm going to list them things. Rupert Lowe is the only person currently, because Andrew Bridgen got kicked out, and they swapped a whole count team to get rid of him, right? That had been there for 14 years previously, and then a few days before they got rid of the whole team, right? Rupert Lowe is the only one who's been speaking about COVID. He's the only one who said the damage you have done to our younger generations by stopping their schooling, right? The damage you have done to people. He's the only one who's turned. I'm just saying this to everyone listening now. Forget everything else. Just listen to these points. He said that if he was in government, everyone whose families have been affected, died, seriously injured, etc., that he would ensure that there is proper compensation, not this compensations that have been stuck in the 1970s, right? But real compensation, the type of conversation you get from a legal tort when you are successful. He wants people to be prosecuted for what they've done in the background and that, and I absolutely agree. Rupert Lowe's the only person who's come out and actually come full bore. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to separate the things, and it's not, and there is a crucial one as well, right? But Rupert Lowe literally said that the legal profession are parasites. I absolutely agree. And there was a point in English history, and I've got the books here, the old books. There's a book here that's 300 years old, and it's the treatise on elections. And it actually says in there that if you was a solicitor, lawyer, in other words, barrister or other, but to do with a legal profession, you couldn't become an MP. You was disqualified unless you'd left the legal profession for at least 18 months, right? That's how it used to be. Somehow this got changed. I don't know when it got changed, but somehow it got changed, right? And that's part of the problem, because the legal profession, right, are not me and you. The same as doctors being in there. They're not me and you. And I'm going to get on to a bit more about that. It's really important that people remind me about English representation, because I've seen something that Rupert Lowe said. I'm going to have a polite disagreement with him, and it should be fun with us to listen to it. He's also mentioned the tax system and wants to bring in the Hong Kong tax system. How long have I been? I'm asking the audience, how long have I been talking about the Hong Kong tax system? Just to throw it out there, put a rough figure in years. Anyone who's followed me for a long time will know how often have I spoke about it. And let me tell you something now. The Hong Kong tax system, right, apart from being English and coming from ordinances from the Addington Act of 1803-1909, I've got to be honest with you, it's a perfect system, and it's renowned all around the world, right? If you want to pick this country up and get people to work, that's the system. You could implement it tomorrow, right? The only thing I would say is you would need to bring sections of it into law, because under the Hong Kong tax system, listen to this, is unlawful, it is illegal to run the country out of deficit, right? And it's a voluntary system. All different people saying 10 years. Yeah, it's at least that. I've been talking about Hong Kong tax. So what you've got to imagine is I'm all of a sudden listening to Rupert Lowe, and he's talking about the Hong Kong tax system, and I'm going, what? He's talking about it. Go on, son, go on, right? And I love it because it is a system that empowers you, right? And disempowers the state. That's the most important thing. It disempowers socialists, right? Which is why China didn't like it. So, with deploying the Hong Kong tax system, apart from the fact that VAT would be out the window, and it should have been when we left the EU, which we didn't actually leave, right? Guess what other group of people are gone? Accountants. The accounts are so simple, you don't need an accountant. There's not 22,000 pages of code. There's 500 pages, which includes all of the allowances. They're in there, and you get massive allowances. You get tax allowances for having children, something like $2,000 a year or £2,000 a year for each child. But only if you're working, right? You get an allowance for looking after you and caring for your own parents. You get an allowance for sending your kids to private school. You get an allowance for medical bills and all that. Everything is covered in it, right? In this short few hundred pages. That's it, right? You're going to have it right off, and it's voluntary. In effect, it's voluntary. They have so much money coming in. They had a revenue stream from the interest and had to lower the tax rate again. And they said it got embarrassing in the end. People said you can have the tax. And everyone was having it off, but the normal working man was having it off, right? Because all of a sudden he was grafting, and he's like, yeah, I'm actually earning a living again, right? Just massively good. And again, the person that promoted that and told the British to Foxtrot Oscar, I didn't swear, to Foxtrot Oscar, was Sir John James Catherwaite, who was Scottish. He said, "Leave us alone." Right? He was the governor of Hong Kong. There's shrines to him there, right? I would love it if Rupert Lowe brought in the Hong Kong tax system, and in 5 years' time we built shrines to him all over the country. I would love it, right? Proper. I think that was funny, right? So the accountants who are parasites all got big houses living off our backs, right? He's mentioned the Fabians again, so I'm making these things. How long have I been talking about the Fabians, right? How many years have I been talking about the Fabians and common purpose, right? And common purpose, and I believe that they should all go to prison for subversion, right? We even arrested Sadiq Khan in public. It went all around the world, right? So with citizens' arrest for subverting it, and Keir Starmer, right? Right, so don't forget Keir Starmer got arrested as well, right? Again, I've mentioned what is the job of an MP, and Rupert Lowe has been doing exactly that, right, with bells on. And the thing that I like about Rupert Lowe is not just concentrating on the major issue, and it is a major issue. All of these issues are major. Millions must go. Right, millions must go. But he's putting a team of people in and a plan. He's running the country as it should be, right? And this gets back to the tax system. There's certain things that you need to put in place by law for that, right? One of it is that again, you wouldn't never get someone like Rachel Reeves running the Chancellery's office, right? She would never be Chancellor of the Exchequer. And the reason is because the Hong Kong tax system elects people to a panel, but they must be self-made millionaires, start with nothing, right, and build something, or billionaires, start with nothing and build it, right? They're very switched on, clever people, right? And they are put in place, and that's what everyone's got to understand. But you need a structure for that to be put in place, because a business needs to know. If you said to me, right, well, Graham, we're on the Hong Kong tax system now. I want you to invest £2 million in this project on the strength of us doing this. I'd say, well, you need to give me 25 years minimum to trust, and I need to know that that's not going to be removed. Otherwise, you're choking me before I've even started. You just get some other mob walk in and go, "No, we're going back." That's not. We need to make it. We need to have a referendum on it. And I can tell you now, most of the people. This stuff, mind you, we still help people, right? I'm not saying we wouldn't help the needy. We absolutely would. But these people in charities that are now getting £400,000, £500,000, £700,000 a year salaries, that's all gone, right? Trust me. That's what. Listen, if you knew about it, you'd understand it. That's why I kick myself sometimes. I've got to go back to the positive thoughts and don't allow the negative to get control of you. So he talks about the Fabians, etc. He spoke about COVID. And the last and the biggest one, which I've already mentioned, is millions must go. What did he do? Right, apart from the other situation that he had, that he's now turned around. You don't remember what I said the other night? You got these electric cars, right? And there's point pressure, and they're twice the weight of a normal car. And all of a sudden, you've put all them in, and people are wondering why they're getting potholes, right? Because when you turn a 3-ton car or a 2.5-ton car and you're going around bends and you're hitting things like that, the road service isn't designed for that. The way it's constructed is not. Funny enough, if you went back 100 years ago with the old cobbled roads, they were constructed to deal with that, right? Because 2-ton horses and some of the big Suffolks, right, and Shire horses, plot along with the old drayman on it and all that, and they was running about all over the place, right? But the roads, the cobbled roads, was there for a reason, right? So to take the pressure and spread the point pressure. Do you all understand what I was talking about? But here's the kicker. When did this happen before? Did I say to you? It was the Labour Party that brought in all these special tax concessions from the EU to bring in diesel motor vehicles. And then everyone went, yeah, we'll have a diesel car. And all of a sudden now they're saying, well, diesel, you get cancer from the fumes, right? And they're wondering why the air quality in London is worse than what it is in Beijing, China, right? That's how thick these people are. That is running on expert opinion. Really? Go and ask the mum and the kid walking to school in the morning about your expert opinion when they can't fucking breathe, right? That's all I'm saying to you. And I swore, apologies, put that one up there, right? I'll try not to swear again. I'm like that. So, can you all hear me, by the way? Is everyone listening to me? Do you all understand what I've just said? Merlin, no. Charity is the scourge of the earth. It's kosher criminal cartel network system. Charity didn't exist, we wouldn't be kinder to. We would be kinder to each other. Yeah, no, I agree. 5G towers, models. I don't know what that means. Ray Edmonds. Good evening, Bother T. 5B5DD. You can all hear me, yeah. So don't forget to share this, and don't forget to put it out as much as you possibly can. I do genuinely. From what I've been seeing, and now, Willsey has interviewed her, and he's following her about on the trail and all that, right? He has got a good way of putting people at ease if he's actually talking to them. He should judge her ability on media, right? And listen, people. You was in court. Many of you was in court with me. One lady sat behind, and there was, I don't know, about 40, 50 people in the gallery. And it was my turn to speak to two High Court judges in this courtroom that everyone was like, wow, we're in the High Court, right? And that lady said to me, when they said it's now your turn to talk, I went, yeah. She said, if that had been me, I would have fainted. I said, you just have to take a deep breath and tell it as it is, right? And if you get good judges, and there's too many bad judges, right? But I do want to emphasise this to everyone, and I'm going to say it again. It is deeply unfair to Rebecca Shepherd for her to stand up in that particular constituency, but in any constituency, but for Rebecca to stand up, to put her name on the ballot, and people don't vote for her, right? She is a normal, everyday working woman, right? She is a local businesswoman. She knows that area. She drinks pints of Guinness. Pints of cider. Cider, right? I've got Guinness on the brain because I ain't had one for a few days. Right? I ain't had any for over about 4 days, I think. But all I'm saying to everyone is, it's deeply unfair not to vote, right? It's a constitutional right. She's basically saying that she is going to stand up for you constitutionally and air your grievances in Parliament. She's going to take the lead with Rupert Lowe and say it as it is, and Andrew Bridgen, who I do want to see re-elected, right? Some of his team I'm not impressed with, but I think he's all right. He's a nice fella, right? But he did stand up and he did say it, and he said what needed to be said, right? So all I'm saying to everyone, and I do mean this, everyone, if you can get this message out, if you're in the local area and you can support them, and make sure we're always the good guys, right? In other words, don't go for a beer and sit there and not that any of you would, but the occasional, especially in this weather, and all of a sudden you're in the pub, one or two, and then you're out doing this stuff, and then someone says something to you, don't get involved with any of that nonsense. The people I'm seeing, and the amount of people I'm seeing on the ground there, is fantastic. We've always had a good response, one, to our seminars that we do all over the country, but two, when I've stood in an election, you're the people who turn up, you're the people that come out and support us, you're the people that help us deliver leaflets, you've done it on many occasions. And again, I always say to you, this is not about me. I only represent you. Right? As a constitutionalist, I represent the Constitution, I represent England. So then let me bring the next part of this in. Rupert Lowe, and again, this is respectfully disagreeing with Rupert on something, right? And I know how he would feel about this, but I think I need to say this, right? England does not have representatives in the British Parliament, right? There are Scots in there, there's Welsh in there, there's Irish in there, and there's lots of foreigners in there, but there's calling themselves British, and there's British in there, right? But no one in there representing England and the English. There's something of particular. This is the point I want to try and make, and I hope I say it in a way that is easily understood. If you was to cease the Synod of Wales and cease the in effect assembly, the Synod is basically, it's not a parliament, it's an assembly of the European Union. If you was to cease the assembly of the Northern Irish, if you was to cease the what they call a parliament, it's not a parliament, right? It's not a parliament, it's an assembly, right? And you need to get rid of the London assembly as well, because you need to show people why you're doing it, and they need to understand what that construction is and why it's there, and it is to take your sovereignty and move it to the European Union. It's centralisation. Why is it important that I bring this up? Because what happens is then people that are elected from Wales, so Welsh constituencies, and I'm not having a go at the Welsh people here, I'm just telling you a fact. They will elect their constituents, their constituent MP, and they'll be fighting the corner in that British Parliament of the Welsh people. So will the Scots, so will the Irish, and there'll be no one fighting for the English. But here's the kicker. People standing in English seats, right, would then be fighting the corner of their home nation, right? In other words, they would be fighting, and I'm going to give you a direct example, and there's many of these, by the way. I mean a lot of these, right? Many of the people around Liverpool, and I'll give you an example, St Helens, the recent, might be this MP or the one before, a lot of them are Irish and Irish descent. But in particular, that MP, who's in an English constituency, was flying permanently the Irish tricolour, right? How does that represent the English constituents? It doesn't, right? If you go all the way back with the Labour Party to Keir Hardie stood for election as a Scot in Scotland, Lanarkshire, I think it was, something like that, right? And couldn't get elected. So he come to London, and he got elected in I think it was West Ham South or something like that, right? And then he got either deselected or not elected and lost an election in London. But he was an MP for some time, right? And then he went to Wales and got elected in Wales, right? Morford Tidwell or something like that. Morford Tidfield, is that what it was? He got elected there, so he's back in Parliament. But he was never representing. He was still representing the Scots. He was always bringing up Scotland, right? Scotland. He represented home rule. So what I'm trying to say to you is that what you'll get is people who are Welsh standing for election in England and then batting for the Welsh, right? You'll get people who are Scottish standing in England and batting for the Scots, right? I mean, outside of their own constituencies in Scotland and Wales, and the Northern Irish will do the same. And then all of a sudden, you've got everyone batting for what they want for their home nations, and still there is no one there to represent the English, right? I mean, if I went into the detail of this, you'd be shocked, right? In fact, I think I might just. Do you want me to tell you how well, let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can bring it up on my screen and see what the last one was. What's that? History. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if this is the one. Not sure if this is the one or not. No, it ain't. So I'll need to go back. Was that the one? Let me have a look. So there's no official comprehensive count of current MPs for English For some reason, my camera went off. Let's see if I can bring it back on again. Oh, I know why. Let's see if that comes back on. Hopefully, this will click back off again. Yeah, right. Anyway, don't forget, we've also got this coming up majorly. Where you gone? I don't know. Like I said, this is playing up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back in about 10 seconds, right? What I'm going to do is take this down and then restart it. Can you all see me again? Don't know why it's doing it. It might be struggling with the amount, and it might even be struggling with the heat. Listen, I'm doing well and all. I've got a jacket, tie on, and everything. It's hot. What are we doing now? ICU. What's the ICU? Thank you very much. 5B5, you can see me. So what I've just said with reference to Rupert Lowe, legal profession parasites, tax system parasites of accountants, millions must go. Listen, he's actually coming back with a plan to bring England back, right? Fabian's common purpose. He knows they're an enemy, and I think he knows that really they subvert, and he knows they've done wrong in the background. The MP's job is to air the constituencies' grievances in Crown and Parliament, and don't forget the big one of the biggest issues for me. You all understand this as well as I do. We're going out and teaching the English Constitution. I think that's a fantastic vocation anyway. I think we should be promoting that to people. We're still going to be doing this. We're going to be talking about all that. We'll get back and talk about the law again as we used to. But the English Constitution Party was brought about because of COVID. That's what everyone asked for, right? Because we was being constitutionally and legally abused by the system, right? And all I'm saying to everyone, Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, and I have no doubt that Andrew Bridgen will build a team for that, right? With proper professionals saying, right, let's get these things. This is the evidence, and hold our own inquiry if we have to, and then start prosecuting these people. What do you think of what I just said? You're the audience. You, as the audience, are the most important people out there, just like juries are. This isn't about me. I'm just your mouthpiece. I'm seeing a furore in the background. I don't want to say I don't feel sorry for Rebecca, and I mean that in the kindest possible way. She's sort of getting a bit of a baptism of fire. She stepped into it But I think she's really brave for doing that. I think she should be highly respected for doing that. And all these people out there that say don't vote, don't vote, don't vote, you're giving her a slap in the face. And let me tell you something: not voting is what's created this. Everyone out there should get out and vote for her. That is my strong opinion. Even if Restore Britain and some of their people say things I don't really agree with or like, I've got to find a way of controlling my frustration. I personally think that's an issue. I don't mean I need anger management, by the way. And I think there's nothing better than to have a fucking rant, and get it off your chest. But I really want to see people that know what they're doing, and especially understand the constitutional position of the member of parliament, that can challenge the speaker and say, "Listen, we ain't got a problem, right? But if you want to end up in a court, but you've got to get enough MPs in there to challenge the speaker. You've got to get enough MPs that if you believe the speaker has done wrong, to pull it up to the Crown, to say to the Crown, and to say to the government, that speaker is not doing his job or her job, right? They're actually operating bipartisanly. They're operating against the Parliament and parliamentary rules. Their job is simply to control debates. That's it, and not to limit the debate, because otherwise you're going against, you're committing the offence of contempt of Parliament and contempt of sovereign, because it is both Parliament and sovereign that passed the Bill of Rights into an act, and it was forever, right? So I just want people to understand that there's a lot of ways we can kick in. I'll just switch, so Ellen, I'll just switch off when I get angry, but that is easier for me to do than you, DD. Yeah, no, I get that. Like I say, mainly it is frustration. But anyway, we're going to crack on with that. Andrew has a scientific background, so he's worth listening to. Muddles, he is. Listen, I've got an issue with anyone with a scientific background, because it wasn't the bricklayers and the plasterers, the plumbers, the tilers, the roofers, the glazers, the sparks, the labourers, and many other jobs out there, and that's just the trades. And then you've got the non-trades and the retailing. It weren't none of us that created gain of function, was it? And again, I really want to do this, and I haven't done it again tonight, and I really do want to do it. I want to show you the clips where Rupert says all these things, right? And then you'll think and I want to be able to get it in such a way that when things get bad in my mind, I can replay them and say, listen, he's doing his best, right? And he's going up against the establishment. But one thing I will say to you is this: I want people to understand. Elon Musk has put out a couple of tweets today and yesterday, I think, as well, throwing his support behind Restore. And I know a lot of people don't like him. I'm not interested in that, right? What and at least he's got English ancestry, right? He's got a right to buy in. I want people to say, I want people to understand this. I keep talking about psychological reframing, right? And the way they do it, and the British are so clever at it. They have psychologically reframed other leaders, right? Because they conflate English and British, right? And every time it's something bad, they say it was the English or England. And every time it's something good, they say it was the British, the British, the British. When 9 out of 10 times, it was nothing to do with England, because the British took control. We become a colony of the British when it was centralisation, under centralisation. And crucially important, I think, that people do need to understand is that it was an Englishman using common law that went up against the system, using a barrister with some bottle, in 1772 with Stuart versus Somerset, and he put the common law argument that you could not be a slave in England. And previously, that Chief Justice that listened to that case had opined, right, given opinion extrajudicially that slavery was lawful in England. So had the Attorney General and so had the Solicitor General of the time, the same group of people, right? So 2 people in government and 1 in the judiciary. So they was already up against, in effect, the executive and up against who represented the Crown and up against the Chief Justice. So all 3 had pinned that slavery was lawful in effect under the British system, right? Until the judge was persuaded otherwise by a barrister, all right, that stood up and said no, right, and this is the law. And that judge listened, and he found in that case, and again, it was the barrister that actually stood up talking about his client and said that the air of England is too pure for any slave to breathe. Any slave to breathe, free to black, right? Why am I saying this? Because it took Wilberforce, again, they say Wilberforce, he was British, he was the one who stopped this, he was the one who stopped it. Wilberforce was an anti-slaver, and it took him 20 consecutive years. 20 consecutive years. That means year after year after year after year after year, he put in the bill, right? The Abolition Act, 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 and for 20 consecutive years, that British Parliament rejected it because they all had a corner out the slave market, right? And no more so than Liverpool, right? Badly. I didn't realise until I reread the Zog case, and I'm going to go through that at Maplethorpe, and I'll probably do it again in Norfolk, because it's such an important case that people don't realise what they did and how the English tried to fight back for them. But just to make a point of this, that everyone forgets something. It was the English that freed the slaves. It was the English that when the slaves got here, right? And there was a place in London they called them the Blackbirds of St. Giles, because there was black slaves begging. The only people to give them bread and give them something was the English working class, right? Middle class weren't interested. The middle class were the ones who were slaving, right? It was the barristers and the solicitors and the judges and all those classes, professions that had slaves. It wasn't us, right? Importantly, and why I'm mentioning this is because when it comes to the government borrowing the money for the Abolition Act for slaves, it was borrowed from the Rothschilds. Just as the Rothschilds lent money to the Crown to buy their property, the Crown borrowed the money from the Rothschilds to pay the slavers. It's a bit like us banning cocaine and then buying all the stocks of cocaine up from all the drug dealers in the world, and then we've got to pay for it, right? The working class, I mean. Majorly, I want people to understand this. This is not a minor thing. We didn't stop paying that until 2014, 2015. So every one of you who is white today that has paid tax up until 2014, 15, some of your tax money has gone to pay that debt of Rothschild, right? For the freedom of them slaves. Yet them slaves are demanding reparations from us, the people that actually freed them, right? I think that is one of the most disgusting psychological reframing I've ever seen. That they could turn black slaves and the descendants of black slaves against us, the people that actually stopped slavery. I think it's worse than disgusting. And the difference between me speaking about psychological reframing, right, and I want people to understand what I'm talking about. That means brainwashing, right? Elon Musk calls it something else, but it's the same thing. He calls it the mind virus, right? Just like COVID, it is a virus that was created in people's minds. The mind virus. And what we've got to do is ensure that we elect people that are not psychologically reframed. I do not believe Andrew Bridgen is psychologically reframed. I do not believe Rupert Lowe is psychologically reframed. I do not believe that Rebecca Shepherd is psychologically reframed. We need everyday people in there telling it how it is, right? And the only way you're going to do that, and the only way you're going to take back control of this country non-violently, is to vote. And anyone telling you not to vote have been psychologically reframed. The mind virus has control of them, and anyone with normal common sense will understand what I'm saying, right? Whilst we do have a constitutional position that we can go to in areas that we don't have restore candidates, and I'm talking about Restore England, but there needs to be a discussion about what goes on with these people that are really representing Wales, but they're in an English constituency, because that's unfair, right? In a big way. And again, it's not just me saying it. You can read the Hamlin lectures, Sir William Wade and Constitutional Fundamentals, and he talks about the Scottish problem, and he talks about it in a correct way. I think that's about all I am going to do tonight. I don't want to sit here, but I am going to go through these sections if you want me to see that. And I think we need to do a video, just even so you can remind me, Graham, but go back and watch your video, right? And then I'll go, all right, because we need to reframe ourselves. We're getting caught up in this shit. And again, I have been attacked majorly on Twitter. I thought it was the EFO nationalists, but they all had Restore Britain. Many of them had Restore Britain, and they're attacking me. I've gone through a lot of them, and also during sometimes you have to draw the people out. You have to draw them out so they'll start firing the shots at you, right? And that's exactly what it is. What I noticed is most people involved with the actual team don't do that. Right? They'll look. They may read them. They may not. I don't care either way, to be honest with you. But I've blocked possibly about 200 people, and it took most of the weekend. But I noticed that my camp was ramping up, and then a lot of them had no real background bios, etc. It's always a good indication. But let me tell you something now. This isn't just about online. You need to get out and speak to people. That's what we do, especially with the English constitutional seminars. That's why I'm not worried, right? Because I know more and more people are getting what our message is. We have a constitution. We have common law rights. We are English, not British, right? And we need to stand up for that. But we need to persuade people what the position is. That's it. So I'm going to say, the best thing you can say to anyone out there, given it large, is I don't care. It seems to aggravate them. And again, I do want to remind people that Rupert Lowe is. Let me just pick him up off there. I know you can all see him behind me. He's looking after my books there. That's my whiskey he's got behind there. I'm just going to show you this as well because I think it's important. He is a little dragon. Oh, look at the little dragon. Maybe we should give this. If I ever meet him and have a chat about his early education as a dragon, right? I would give him that and just say that's from the English Constitution Party. That's probably one of my prized possessions. That is a dragon. I know I'm strange, don't I? You like the strangeness, though. I know you do. Right, that's it. I'm going to say good night, God bless. And don't forget my little dinosaur at the top there for anyone dealing with that lunatic in Northern Ireland. That's it. Good night, God bless. All right, hopefully everyone could see this on YouTube. Everyone could see it on Twitter, and everyone can see it on Rumble, and everyone can see it on Locals. I did go through some of the settings last night, and hopefully it's on the right channel, etc., on a full English show. That's it. Good night. God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. Let me tell you something. There's another video I want to show you. I really need to show you a section of it. If I could bring it up on the screen now, I would. Not sure I could bring it up and it'd be fine on here because YouTube wouldn't like the fact that I was just running it. But before we arrested Sadiq Khan, there was a number of us. We all had to stay at a property just outside London. And before we did it, I went through this video. It was a 20-minute video, and I showed it to everyone. I said, I just want you to listen to what this means, and you'll understand it, right? And they all listened and said, we get it, right? And the basis of it is that these people turning up at all these major events 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? Think of the 70,000 at Peterloo who was demanding the vote. They didn't have mobile phones. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have text messaging, right? It was word of mouth. They spoke to each other. That is the greatest thing that you can get, right? So when you get all these people working the pavements and going around, go back to the old way of doing it where the media won't talk about, put loud-hailers on the vans and talk to people, knock on the doors, give them the leaflets. That's the best way of getting out there. But the most important thing is this. I want you to listen to what this was. How did them people do that? And the simple thing come back from this lecture, it was a lecture, it was one of the best I've ever seen. I still send it to people. And funny enough, I'm still in conversation with Daniel in Texas. And he said something in a document he sent me, a brilliant document, right? A brilliant document of how to take your country back. Worked out a strategy all the way through, right? I'd love to share it with Rupert Lowe. And these are from professionals, right? And he said something in there that resonated with me. And then I sent him that video. He come back and started laughing. He said, Graham, he said, what you've just sent me is one of the things that we show on our second course, the more advanced course, right? And then we show people that video and explained. And this is the key message. That them people didn't turn up for at Peterloo for the speaker. They didn't turn up for Rebecca Shepherd. They didn't turn up for Rupert Lowe, right? They turned up for themselves, right? Key to this is that you turn up for what you believe, and that is the key to winning, right? And again, I'll speak to you all later. Au revoir, tiddly poo. Bye, good night. And don't forget the maple thorpe. It's important. There you go. Well, it's not come up. It's come up now.
do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. Now let me give you a successful example of the law of diffusion of innovation. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad, but he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed. And it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed him not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech.